Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning for our FDA export operations webinar on the digitalisation of customs and trade. Delighted to be joined by Liz from TariffTel this morning. Who's going to be walking us through her presentation. There will be some time at the end of the webinar for some Q&A. If you've got any questions, then you can take yourself off mute, put your hand up or add a question in the chat box and we'll come to you at the end of the presentation. Just to note that the presentation is being recorded, so the webinar recording will be sent round to everybody afterwards, along with Liz's slides. So over to you, Liz. I'm going to hand over to you.
Hi. Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Davies. Like Mel said, I lead a team of classification experts at TariffTel. We specialise in customs classification. The company has been around over 15 years. We're based in Marylebone in central London. So I'm going to speak today about the digitalisation of customs and trade in food and drink, specifically looking at classification. We deal with some very big clients, Marks & Spencer and Asda in this area, and we've been working with these clients for over 10 years. We provide a high level of customer service in classification, data accuracy and data storage. So I've got a few slides to share. Hopefully you might learn something or pick up some hints or tips to help you with your classification or show you how we could help you with your classification. Food and drink is an especially complex topic, can mean you bouncing around the tariff book in many chapters. We've got a few examples of some interesting products to share with you. So just a little bit about myself. Try not to bore you too much. Yeah, I'm quite old. I've worked in supply chain logistics for about 28 years now, and I've worked at TariffTel for nearly 4 years. I've worked across many industries, automotive, aerospace, transportation, retail, including food. We've been working with the FDA for the last 12 months now. So like I said, I'm just going to share some slides with you. So we're going to talk about some basics first. What is the tariff book? Why it's important and why we adhere to it? What do food and drink businesses need to consider when classifying their products and the common errors that they can come across? We'll look at some of the 2025 tariff book changes and what you need to be aware of, and then what you need to look for if you're implementing a technology solution to help you classify your products better. So we'll start with the big book, the big Bible. What is it? It's a comprehensive document that outlines the customs duties, taxes and regulations applied to goods imported or exported in a particular country or economic zone. It's a requirement for businesses, customs officials and policymakers to determine the applicable charges and compliance requirements for international trade. Generally, each country has its own book. Obviously, the EU have the book as a group, and the UK, but Dubai, Qatar, Canada, the US, they all have their own tariff books with their own detailed tariff codes in, which can change across countries, across regions. They're updated regularly to reflect these policy changes and international trade agreements and economic strategies. Why do we need it? I mean, it's a crucial requirement for regulating international trade to make sure we are compliant with customs laws, and it standardises the classification of goods using the harmonised system. It helps the government collect revenue through import duties and taxes, protects domestic industries by imposing tariffs. I'm sure you're all aware of Donald Trump and what he's doing at the moment with tariffs on certain countries, to try and boost the US economy. Additionally, it controls restricted or prohibited goods, prevents fraud and enables accurate trade data for economic planning. So who? We've got what, why, now we'll look at who. Who are the people that use it? All businesses that import or export rely on it to classify their goods. calculating your duties to determine your landed cost, understand your profit margins. You know, what is my product? What is the code? What are the duties related to it? What is the country of origin? Is there a free trade agreement? Is there preference on this product? You know, the book will give you all that information. Customs officials and border agencies, making sure you've got the correct tariff code, making sure you've accurately valued your goods, that you're not trying to import a Mac computer with a £2 price tag on it on an invoice through customs, and make sure that the correct rules of origin are followed. Your freight forwarders and customs brokers will be consulting it again to make sure that shipments pass smoothly and that you avoid any delayed or demurrage charges. Government policymakers and trade authorities using it to control tariff rates, publish trade agreements, regulate imports and exports, and your legal and tax professionals using it to make sure you're meeting your trade compliance, you're optimising your duty. So let's look at how now. How do we use the book? And this is where we really talk about what data and knowledge sources that you need to be aware of when you're classifying products. So, you know, often people think you need just the tariff book and your product description, and that is it's a great place to start, but it's not the only place that you should be looking. And as I go through the slides, you'll see a bit more, you know, why this comes to fruition as I talk about some of the products. You know, you need to understand the intricate product details. The WCO explanatory notes, this is a separate website that you have to subscribe to get the information. You need to make sure you're reading your chapter and section notes within the tariff book, applying your general rules of interpretation, looking at BTIs, ATRs and cross rulings. These are your binding rulings across Europe, the UK and the US. Making sure that you read the European explanatory notes, the EU, again, separate website that you need to be aware of. And then you can subscribe to Stop Press emails and notifications from HMRC to make sure you're keeping up to date. And then obviously there's classification guides as well, both in Europe and the US on specific products. On apparel, for example, which is one of the areas that we work in, there are specific guides on, you know, they have to, garments have to meet specific requirements. So it's important to understand that the importer of record has the full responsibility for classifying these products. And what you find is sometimes that people don't want to, you know, pay for classification. They don't want to employ somebody to do this as a permanent role. So it can often fall with people that are not trained, and that's when these these difficulties become, because they only have time to look at the book. They don't have time to resource and understand all this data that you need to do it properly. So we're going to look at food specifically, or food and drink. So, I mean, our advice is, you know, you need to build your knowledge base, like we say, analyse the tariff book. So not just looking at tariff, understand the chapters, understand the notes, the headings, reading all the detail, reading the rules, you know, the GRIs, and reviewing the rulings. Know your product is a massive area, and you'll see this as we go through this presentation. You know what detail you need for your product. If it's a fish, you're going to need the species. You're going to need to know the state of that product, if it's fresh, if it's frozen, if it's dried. Some products you might need to know the weight, you might need to know the packaging, you know, detailed nutritional breakdown and detailed ingredients. If the product has a fat in it, you might need to know what that fat is. Is it butter? Is it palm oil? You know, all this can affect your classification. And then obviously step 3 is keeping up to date with those changes and, you know, interpreting the book and looking for the major updates. The major updates are usually every 5 years. The next one is 2028. The last one was 2022. It's 6 years, but they've delayed it a year due to COVID. But we are seeing a lot more regular changes now, although be it small, on an ongoing basis. There was an update in December, but there was also quite a lot of small updates through the whole of January. So again, this is just looking at your food again, like we've talked about, you know, asking the right questions. If your product has a meat content, you know, 20% is the magic number, you know, then it will go to your prepared meat or fish. If it's less than 20%, looking at your essential character. So here, you know, looking at your rules of classification, really. So we're going to go into talk about where you start, you know, do you know what questions to ask and ask the questions in the right order. So we're going to go through a couple of fun products here that we like. When is yogurt not a true yogurt? So if we look at this product, like the image is not really telling us much. So the top product is a natural yogurt, not flavored, no added sugar, fat content 5%, and it contains only 2 types of bacteria. I'm not going to attempt to say them, especially in my accent. And this product is a true yogurt. We'll go in the top half of the chapter, 040320. It's a true yogurt because it contains those 2 types of bacteria. The bottom product is a probiotic natural yogurt, not flavoured, no added sugar, fat content the same. But because it contains an additional bacteria, it cannot go in that yogurt section. And it drops down to other yogurts, which is 040390. Then this is where the expertise comes in. This is not in the tariff book. This is not in the chapter notes in the tariff book. This is in the EU explanatory notes. So if you didn't know to look there, then you wouldn't have this information available to you. So that's, you know, an example of a common mistake, not looking outside of the tariff book and not understanding the questions that you need to ask for that product. And in some instances, maybe not in this one, the duty could be different on these products, which means your landed cost is wrong, your profit margin's wrong, and you're not compliant. So you could get into all sorts of trouble. We're going to look at another product now, chocolate Easter egg. It's quite fun with Easter coming up. We all like Easter eggs. Tastes much better than normal chocolate. So if we look at the top example, a milk chocolate Easter egg with an assortment of milk and dark truffles inside. Now this product, we would go to the Easter egg. We were going to use our general rules of interpretation here, 3B. The essential character of that product is the egg. So it would go to an unfilled chocolate code, which is 180690 3900. But if that egg was white chocolate, now with an assortment of milk and dark chocolates, we can't apply the same rule. So if we were to go to white chocolate, we'd be looking at chapter 1704. But if you read chapter note 1A, it will tell you that your product cannot be in 1704 if it contains cocoa. So straight away now, I've got to go back to 1806. So now I'm looking at the cocoa product within this product, which is the filled chocolates. So now I need to go to a filled chocolate, and now I need to know the additional information of whether these chocolates contain alcohol or not. And then that gives me this code, 1806 90 1900. So you can see very similar product, but I'm having to apply different rules and understand that it's not always the same. I can't go down the same path for these 2 products that are very similar. So we'll talk a little bit about tomatoes. This was the main update this year, fat shaming tomatoes. If you look at the top half of there, that one used to be the tariff in 2024. And unfortunately for tomato importers and exporters, they now have to worry about the size of their tomatoes and whether their tomatoes are on the vine or not just whether they're cherry tomatoes or not. I don't know why this detail is required, but it is. So, you know, it was important to be abreast of this change and that we prepared our clients in advance for it, because the last thing we need is a trailer of tomatoes leaving with the wrong codes on the 31st of December to arrive somewhere that it gets stuck after that because it has got the incorrect tariff code on it. So it's really important to be, you know, aware of these changes and in advance so that you can prepare for them. So we'll just now look at the last topic now, what to look for when you implement a technology solution. I'm going to talk a little bit about TariffTel, but technology in general. So we'll just talk about what we do as a company to begin with. We basically have an online customs classification and management system. So we have a unique and comprehensive approach to tariff classification and seamlessly integrate tailored to business needs document updates to fully integrated systems. So you'll see the flow chart there. What we do is we integrate with a customer system. So we take information from their ERP system, for example. It could be a purchase order, it could be master data. And then we have an option that we can present that data to a supplier for them to enrich. And this is a point that we ask them the correct questions. So in the case of the yogurt, we'd be asking, you know, what types of bacteria it contained, or for fish, we'd be asking about the species. So we have these decision trees in the background, so we know what questions to ask on which products. That data gets enriched, and then the system assigns a tariff code, and then that tariff code gets signed off either by yourself or us, and then it goes back, you know, integrates back into your system and, you know, can be updated. So what we do then, if you've got a full audit trail of who answered what question and when, who provided what data, so it's fully comprehensive audit for HMRC. You've also got the ability to attach documents to it, you know, country of origin or export health certificates, preferential origin. We can attach MRSIN codes. So all that data is centralised in one place. So it's good preparation for the digital product passports when they get introduced. And the joy is they don't need any classification knowledge, because that engine is the bit that we do in the middle. So, okay. Yeah, sorry, lost my thread then. This is just a bit more about our system. So obviously you can find more about us on our website. We're at the IFE event in March from the 17th to the 19th of March, where we're going to be hosting a classification clinic. So you can come and talk to us and we can give you some advice. I'm also at MemberCon in a couple of weeks. And that's it really. Oh, so if you've got any questions you want to ask.
Thanks, Liz. That was, yeah, sounds like customs classification does sound like a complete headache and a bit of a nightmare. Just out of interest, I just wondered how easy it is for a company to implement technology such as TariffTel technology. Is it a simple process, or what's involved?
Yeah, it's very easy. I mean, like I said, we can integrate with people's ERP systems. We have standard APIs to and from customer systems. And from our client base, you know, we can more or less handle any system. We deal with a lot of Oracle, a lot of SAP. But you can also upload data in by Excel and extract by Excel if clients don't want to go down the API route. Same as engaging with suppliers. Some companies want to engage with the suppliers, some don't. Some want to do a mix, so you can engage with some suppliers and not. And then when we onboard a client, we work with that client. So we'll look at their past product data if they want to upload that, to make sure that's okay. And then they can start the new process for their new products, or they can just do their new products. You know, we can help sign off products, or they can do it themselves. So there's different options depending on what the business requires.
Okay, great, thank you. I can see that there's somebody off mute. Do you want to ask a question? Any more questions from anybody?
I suppose the most famous one was the Jaffa cake, wasn't it? It was the
Yeah, cake or biscuits, a cake.
Was it a cake? Was it a cake or a biscuit?
It's a cake.
It's a cake. Oh, well, cake.
It's a cake, yeah.
And I think they went to court over it, McVitie's at the time, and got a legal binding tariff decision, didn't they?
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're looking at any technology solution, I mean, you know, if it's not TariffTel, it's another solution, look at the percentage of accuracy that that solution offers you. is it giving you a clear process or method of getting the right classification, a clear audit trail of how that classification was achieved? Because often, like you say, with these things, when it comes to a bit contention, it's, how did you get that code? How did you get there? It's like maths showing you working out. And even if you've got the wrong answer, at least you've got a process and a method of how you got there. We hear such a lot about AI and ChatGPT, and they're great tools, but it's like driving down a one-way street the wrong way and getting a ticket off a police officer and saying, "Oh, my sat nav told me to do it." It's not really going to cut it with HMRC if you say, "Oh, ChatGPT gave me that code," or I just Googled it and picked this number. It looked all right. They're not going to buy that at all.
And I have to say, as a global freight forwarder, we can't advise on tariff classification.
Yeah.
So our position, we do get asked quite a lot.
Yeah.
So our position is obviously it's down to the trader themselves to
Exactly.
sort that.
Yeah, and we're quite renowned with Irish Customs because one of our big clients is Primark, and they really rate our system. They understand how it works, so we've got a very good reputation with HMRC and Customs, and we have to demonstrate for Marks and Spencer for their AEO and for their audit of how we do the classification for them, and it gets audited. And that's why we say that we can do 99.9% accuracy. There's always those little interpretations that sometimes you get mixed up with, but that's from our stance, that's where we are.
And you mentioned a subscription. Was it Stop Press? Was that right? Does it tell you updates to the tariff book and things?
You can subscribe and you get emails and updates. I would say we've had quite a lot of updates, past updates with HMRC, so hopefully they're going to sort that out soon, where they've informed us that they're making a change, and they've actually made the change about 3 weeks ago. So
Okay.
yeah, there's been quite a lot in January, but it generally will slow down now for a little bit.
Yeah.
But really the big updates are what you need to be aware of, and you can prepare for them in advance. Like the tomato one, for example, we'd classified them as cherry tomatoes or not. Then we had to go back to Marks and Spencer and all the ones that, are they on the vine? How big are they? And go back and ask these questions and reclassify all these products.
Yeah. No, I think you're going to be popular at IFE with your clinic.
Yeah, well,
clinic.
I've got my team with me, so hopefully you
Yeah.
get to meet some of the other members of my team, and they can provide you with some help and advice.
Yeah. So yeah, just to note that TariffTel will be exhibiting on the Exporters Hub at IFE. FDA will also be exhibiting. Are you going to be there, Richard, as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're stand is in design at the moment.
Yeah, so providing advice to exhibitors and visitors to IFE. And I don't know who attended last year, but there was also a Exporters Hub Theatre where FDA ran the panel sessions with lots of useful information and tips and hints, and we'll be inviting Richard, Liz to talk on the panel sessions as well. So if you are visiting IFE, please do come along to some of those sessions, which I think IFE will be promoting in the next few weeks. Has anybody else got any questions before we sign off? Please do just unmute yourself if you've got a question for Liz. No, I think it looks like we are all good.
I mean, if anybody's too nervous to ask a question on here, by all means, just get in touch with us, and we can answer you by mail or talk to you directly.
Yeah, I'll copy in Liz's contact details on the webinar recording email that I send round afterwards. But thank you so much for your time this morning and explaining the headache of customs classification and how TariffTel can make it easier for companies. Thanks so much for your time, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.